Carved, the second and final Huluween original movie, dropped yesterday, with Mr. Crocket coming out earlier in the month and being the first. So today I'm going to be talking about both, let you know what I think. They're both horror comedies, with Mr. Crocket taking itself a little bit more seriously than Carved, but definitely still being silly. They're also both based off shorts with the same names, also found exclusively on Hulu. I always enjoyed the short The Hug, so I'm really hoping they do a feature-length version of that one. But it's probably going to be looked at as a Five Nights at Freddy's ripoff, so I doubt it's going to happen. But I like the whole killer animatronic idea, so the more the better, I guess, but it's not going to happen. Also, I thought it was worth mentioning, both movies at least partially take place in 1993. Kind of random, but okay. Mr. Crocket is about a supernatural children's TV host, kind of inspired by Mr. Rogers, who looks for kids that have been mistreated by their parents, and then once he finds them, crawls out of their VCR or their TV, punishes the parents, brutally kills them, and then he abducts the kids. I had no idea what this movie was about before watching it, but from the opening scene, it really grabbed me. There was a lot of cool shots, some great use of colors, great practical effects, creature design, set design, and also surprisingly gory, but still keeping the tone light. It actually kind of gave me Freddy vibes, and that's because there's a similar scene in A Nightmare on Elm Street 5. I'm not going to say exactly which one, but it was very similar. I hate to say it, the movie definitely peaked with that first scene. And the movie's not bad at all. It's far from it, for sure. There's still stuff that I enjoyed in the rest of the movie, but nothing that quite hit those high highs of the opening scene for me. We follow a recently widowed mother and her son who actually has a Game Gear. A Sega Game Gear. That's like the last thing I would expect to see. Like, a Game Boy, you kind of expect that. But a Game Gear, that was crazy. But that doesn't last long because the son breaks that shit like 5 minutes later. The story follows a pretty simple formula. Some weird stuff goes on. The character does research to find out what's going on. Maybe meets someone that's dealt with this in the past or is dealing with it. And then they uncover the villain's past. Find a way to stop him. It's a basic formula. It's been done a bunch of times, but that's because it usually works. And it worked here for me. The performances overall are pretty good throughout the movie, most of them, and it does enough to keep me engaged, but the scenes where Mr. Crocket shows up definitely are what make the film worthwhile. I really had a lot of fun with the character, Mr. Crocket, and I enjoyed seeing a new spin on, taking something innocent and then making it sinister or evil or whatever. We've seen it a bunch of times, like in the Chucky franchise, but it's a new twist on it. I don't think we've seen a Mr. Rogers type character done before, so I enjoyed that. There's a fair amount of fun, creative kills, and like I said, when Mr. Crocket shows up, they always do some cool things with the camera and how he comes out of the TV. They get creative. The rest of the movie, it's shot fine, but like I said, Mr. Crocket's scenes always deliver. Plus, in the movie, at some point, the characters find themselves in Mr. Crocket's world, and I loved what they did with that. With the stuff that I really liked and the rest always doing enough to keep me invested, I think it's a pretty good movie. But nothing you have to rush out and go see. But if you find yourself scrolling, looking for something, I think you should at least consider giving this one a shot. In Carved, a chemical spill gives birth to a monstrous pumpkin who is out to get revenge on people who competed in a competition where they carved pumpkins. How could they? The movie opens and the same guy that played Mr. Crocket, Elvis Nolasco, I hope I'm saying that right, he's in this movie too. Also, the actor who played the weird dude from Scary Movie 2 is in this film, so that's cool. The idea of a pumpkin monster is pretty basic, but it is iconic Halloween imagery, so I'm cool with going back to the basics. For the first 25 minutes or so, I was actually really into it. Most of the actors were pretty good, and it looked like the kills were going to be a lot of fun with some good effects and, like Mr. Crocket, surprisingly gory. So yeah, I was liking it at first, but then it quickly loses all of its momentum. It starts to feel like everything's being dragged out and not much happens for long stretches of time. The movie's only 90 minutes long, and I don't even think they had enough story to fill that runtime. They also don't do nearly enough with the monster. It has a good scene in the beginning, which had me thinking, most of the movie's going to be like that. And then there's a few, decent moments here and there, and then more towards the end. But I thought the monster was way underutilized, and it left me feeling underwhelmed. So yeah, mostly decent acting, some cool moments, but I would just skip it. overall for Huluween, I'd say they made one pretty good movie and then one that was kind of just eh. So have you seen either of these? What do you think? Let me know. I've been uploading spooky and horror themed videos all month long, and I got a lot more on the way. So whether it's movies, video games, TV, you can find that all here. I really appreciate you watching. It really does mean a lot. So thank you, and I'll see you next time.